Hey everyone, welcome to Dreaming in the Deep. Today we're diving into how orcas dream, how humans have shaped their world, and what that all says about culture, both theirs and ours.
I'm Gregory. My work explores marine resource exploitation through zooarchaeology and maritime archaeology. This is exploring and researching places like shore whaling stations to better understand how humans built maritime cultures around the oceans and its creatures and leviathans.
Well, hello, you two. I'm Gavin. I study how sleep influences performance and how culture shapes how we rest, recover, and connect culturally.
And I'm Melody. I look at human-animal connections, how non-human others like orcas have culture, emotion, and social life that mirror our own.
So this is basically anthropology meets oceanography with a splash of insomnia.
And a little bit of Levi Strauss in the waves.
My research looks into the archaeological remains of the tryworks at Captain Joe Clark's San Simeon whaling station. The tryworks were the furnaces upon which sat trypots, these large iron pots used to render whale oil or whale blubber into oil. If you've cooked with bacon or something else high in fat, you probably are familiar with having to clean up grease around the area. This grease from the tryworks is likely in the ashen soil at the San Simeon site. By analyzing the ashen soil and comparing it to the historically processed whale bones found in San Simeon, we can more accurately determine the species of the whales being utilized, and by what means. This helps trace how human dependence on marine resources helped shape coastal communities. The coastal archaeological sites, they show that the exploitation of marine resources wasn't just economic, it was cultural. The tryworks themselves are symbolic. They represent what Claude Levi-Strauss might call the transformation of nature into culture. We took living whales and literally converted them into social value. Wealth, light, progress. Emil Durkheim, a link to him, he would say that this reflected our collective consciousness, a shared moral belief that nature existed to serve society. Now, archaeology exposes that belief in physical form, and the result still shapes marine life today. It's from shifting migration routes to disrupted feeding grounds. These cultural transformations have left ecological scars.
That's
But
fascinating.
not every culture saw the ocean that way. Melody, your work explores a completely different worldview, one that sees orcas not as resources, but as relatives.
Exactly. In many indigenous traditions, especially those around the Salish Sea, orcas aren't property, they're people. And with their large cerebral cortex and spindle cells, they have emotions, social cohesion, and they are thought to actually be self-aware. Some stories say they were once humans who chose the sea. That worldview creates a different kind of relationship, one based on kinship, not control. Levi Strauss wrote that animals are good to think with, meaning that by studying how we imagine animals, we uncover the deep structures of our own thought. When the Salish Sea tribes talk about orcas as family, they're expressing an entire social logic, one where humans and nature are part of the same symbolic system. Orcas aren't just in the environment, they are part of society. Now, Western culture, however, often followed what Levi Strauss called good to eat thinking. As he has said, the utilitarian mindset. It's a materialist structure that defines animals by their use rather than their meaning. But as Levi Strauss has said, vulgar materialism puts man in direct confrontation with nature. That's how industrial whaling could coexist with admiration for whales. They were both sacred and consumable. But here's the thing, Durkheim and Levi Strauss actually complement each other. Durkheim helps us see how societies share moral ideas, our collective representations, and Levi Strauss shows how those ideals are built through symbols and oppositions, nature versus culture, human versus animal, sacred versus profane. The Salish worldview collapses that opposition. It refuses to separate the human and the non-human. And maybe that's why it worked. It kept moral order and ecological balance intact. Honestly, I think Levi Strauss would have loved orcas. He'd probably say they're proof that myths can swim. But when the balance breaks, when culture loses connection to nature, it affects everything, even sleep. Gavin, what happens when the world literally can't rest?
Oh gosh, so when orcas sleep, same with dolphins, they sleep in a fascinating way. They basically sleep with one hemisphere of their brain off. You could imagine being in a big dark ocean with your eyes closed. You would want at least one eye open to see what's going on around you. So basically one half of the brain stays awake. It's called unihemispheric slow wave sleep when they're sleeping with just half of their brain. They rest, swim, and keep watch simultaneously while they're sleeping. Scientists have even found short bursts of REM, or rapid eye movement like activities, suggesting moments of dreaming. So when you're dreaming, your eyes move rapidly, if that makes sense. But unfortunately, due to constant stress from even sonar, noise, ship traffic, disruption, and migration, has reduced those resting periods. And REM is a super important stage of sleep because it helps cognitive recovery and it helps you think better. So the ocean never really goes quiet anymore. It's like a collective insomnia on a planetary level, which is unfortunate for orcas. Humans experience similar patterns in high-stress societies. We shorten our REM sleep, work through rest, and lose emotional balance. I don't know if either of you have ever woken up in the morning during a dream, but if you wake up during a dream, you usually wake up in a bad mood. And I bet now if it happens to you, you'll notice it.
That's interesting.
In fact, it's crazy. You'll notice it now. If you wake up during a dream, especially your last REM cycle at 6 a.m, you'll be like, I'm in a bad mood. But anyway.
Makes sense why you're so upset when somebody wakes you from a good dream.
For sure. And I'm honestly sure orcas feel the same way. But
probably.
Yeah.
So, you might be able to speak better on this, but some anthropologists argue that industrial culture and our obsession with productivity is just another form of good-to-eat thinking. We consume time instead of respecting rhythm. Sleep itself is a kind of structure, and Levi Strauss would say these structures reveal the logic beneath the behavior. The way orcas sleep reflects their social architecture, one half resting for the self and one half awake for the group. Durkheim would call that solidarity. Levi Strauss might call that symmetry. Either way, it's balance.
Mm-hmm. So even in sleep, they keep structure. That's very Levi Strauss.
And moral order too, so Durkheim would be proud.
Yeah, half dreaming, half defending. The ocean's oldest social contract, you could say.
I like that. If orcas teach us anything, it's that culture isn't human. It's structural, symbolic, and shared. They remind us that we're all a part of a larger system of meaning.
And archaeology shows those meanings can change, but also that we can read them, learn from them, and maybe rebuild a more balanced structure.
So Levi Strauss and Durkheim both remind us that societies, whether human or whale, depend on rhythm and relationship. Maybe the lesson is that culture, like sleep, only works when it's collective.
Thanks for listening to Dreaming in the Pod.
Honor the ancestors and take a nap for the collective.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Till next time. Hopefully there's a next time.
Till next time, tune in again and listen to Rock Talk with Melody, Gavin, and Gregory.